Thank you, Mary, for mortifying me to begin with. It is an absolute privilege to be invited to speak at this folding of time, at this really seminal body of work by my lovely friend Louise Cherry. I'm saying a folding of time because there are moments that stand in your mind as an artist. And I think one of the moments that stays with me in the most profound way is when I first met Louise, when we were both on our masters together, formerly Mavis, it doesn't exist anymore. And the first day that we entered into the program, we all had to bring something along to talk about. Do you remember this?
I'm trying to remember.
Okay, I got to embarrass you, but I remember this so clearly that we had to bring something that was a kind of a gift to all of the other art students and staff at the start of the day, but also it was, maybe a way to promote your work. And I mean, I brought a catalogue. I'm cringing now, right?
I'm trying to remember.
But I remember Louise brought a beautiful box, and inside of the box was a cut square of fresh grass from your lawn. Right, do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
And it was this moment of pause that she passed this around to everybody, and I suddenly realized I was in the presence of a real artist. I was really in the presence of somebody that gave something such contemplation and such time, and really understood that actually, even though we were all scared shitless in the room about presenting who we were, there was this authentic self who was asking us to take in a smell of the grass and be present with this object, and to talk about that intimacy between an art object and a moment just for you, an audience of one. And then when Louise reached out to me recently and told me about this new body of work, I was curious, because I had been following her practice since Mavis, where I had seen her on this journey where she had kind of engaged initially with her long past father, Robin Cherry, in this collaborative work, but then had embarked on a practice of abstract expressionism, and now was returning in an almost Carol Rama way to something semi-autobiographical, fictitious, and that was like a kind of a decoupage, an assemblage of tapestry in her work that was talking about these really polemic subject matters of trauma and grace and sexuality and bodily autonomy. And I was like, wow, this is like a huge journey that you have been on. So time had folded, and I felt really privileged to be invited to speak about this work, and really excited for you, Louise, when I saw this body emerge. And literally it's a body, it's a corpus, it's a somatic play. At first glimpse you can see the kind of ode to Rodin and these assemblages of the body in the sexual form, but then it also talks about bodies in a state of free falling, or bodies in the space of precarity or assertiveness sexually, or something almost obscured with mythology that I thought was really polemic. And it's so interesting going across the bridge to see Ursula Burke's work earlier, where we see antiquity presented, and right across a folding of time and space, we see antiquity presented here today, like friezes of the Parthenon or the Three Graces. And the world is such a traumatic space now. What we know about trauma is that we are living with the consequences of undealt trauma. And an artist like Louise is kind of looking at these kind of moments through that lens of antiquity, looking back at these stories of trauma, like Persephone being captured by Hades at the pool and being dragged to the underworld, or these moments of maybe Ovid and the Metamorphosis, or our Brothers Grimm, like there's a wolf ready to pounce, that if you look closely enough. There's these moments of threat and ambiguity in paintings that are kind of referencing what it's like to live in our contemporary world right now when things are so uncertain. And I find it so refreshing to see an artist looking back at mythology as a way of trying to understand the world. It's possibly the only thing we can do. Earlier on, I was speaking to friends in the Butler Gallery, and I was saying about like how like the world has gone to shit, like completely gone to shit. And yet the person that rings in my ear all the time is Albert Camus, and he says that we need to have joy as an act of rebellion. And the joy that exists is in moments like this, where we're standing in front of a work and we are like liberated by interpreting what's on the canvas or coming off the wall or sealed in what looks like a Grecian plate. These are the moments of rebellion, and we need much more of this. And I absolutely applaud an artist like Louise Cherry for taking the risk when obviously your work has been phenomenally successful as an abstract painter, but then going sideways and segue and going into something that's really conceptually rigorous like this it's a privilege to see something like that. And my God, that is an act of rebellion, and we need more. The title of this show is All That's Left of You and Me. And I can't help but think of that first collaboration with your father, which kind of catalyzed this. But then you have moved on from this work for that initial installation of suspended reality and tension. And I think there's a lovely symbiosis between that suspended and those kind of moments that we see in some of the works, like the snakes aren't going to catch you on the way down. There's just such a lovely moment of poetry in these paintings that I ask you to give of your time. And I'd really like to applaud the work of Mary Doyle Burke, in particular, on curating a project like this in a space like Dunnes Stores, right? Like, the whole reason I even became an artist is that visual culture is accessible for free. And I have always feckin' dreamed of having an exhibition in a shopping centre, because honestly,
I think she'll turn you down.
there's like the audiences that are going to witness a work like this. It's like, it's not the audience that goes into the Butler Gallery. This is an audience of serendipity. It's all manner of walk of life that's going to come up those stairs and see a work like this. And this is what a breath of fresh air and what an act of rebellion is all about. It's something that catches you unawares and brings you these moments of joy. So Mary, my God, girl, thank you so much for being so brave. We need so many more rebels like Mary in the world that set up art in spaces like this. So thank you so much. Thank you. And championing the art of greatness like Louise. So my closing words is, I was going to actually, another artist that came to mind when I saw Louise's work, and I also read the absolute exquisite text by the fabulous, what I would like to call is the midwife of Irish visual culture, Christine Leach, who should be applauded for her beautiful essay, which is in this publication and also on the wall, that speaks so much about feminist critical theory and really grounds Louise's work in discourse like Paul Arago or Carol Rama or Louise Bourgeois or Bengueles, which is a very interesting work to look at on the far side. But I wanted to end with, I spoke about how time folded, and I felt I just should leave a moment of time in the presence of great poet like Sylvia Plath. So she has a line that says, "Time is a great machine of iron bars that drains eternally the milk of stars." And I think that's a nice way to end. And on time. Thank you so much.